We are back here on the Pirates YouTube channel with the third segment of our weekly podcast with Jason Mackey. My name is Adam Bittner, assistant sports editor for Multimedia. Jason is our sports columnist. We're talking about the Pirates. And Jason, I think this week is where some of the air went out of the Don Kelly balloon a little bit. They go to Chicago, give up 9 runs and still find a way to lose 3 out of 4. Lose the first game in Detroit as we're recording this before this doubleheader. So who knows? Maybe they could surprise us. Sweep the doubleheader and change the conversation a little bit. But while we're sitting here, Jason, it hasn't been pretty. I think there's some, apathy starting to set in now that they've lost a little bit of the momentum. Is that what you're seeing, people checking out with this team, and that maybe there is not going to be the surge that keeps it interesting, at least until training or Steelers training camp?
Yeah, I have a tough time. I'll just share my own experience. I have a tough time coming up with things to write or say about the Pirates right now. You're just doing the same thing over and over again. You don't have any offense. The pitching's pretty good. We're just sort of bobbing along. What reason does that give fans to care? And believe me, I want to see people care. I want to see people go to the ballpark. I love baseball. But your offense isn't good enough. And the person most responsible for trying to fix the offense or build the roster in a way that you get more offense, Ben Cherington, is just allowed to continue to keep his job. I don't understand it. I don't understand what they're thinking. When I talked to Bob Nutting, it's 6 weeks ago now, something like that. He was talking about the season still being salvageable. You think, does he think the season's still salvageable now? What does he think about the season? I wish I had the opportunity to ask Bob that question. I'll be there Friday. Maybe I'll try to stop him and find out. But it's just, I don't want to say it's become stale because that's the wrong answer. It's just, we see what the Pirates are. I think Don Kelly's been an improvement. It's been nice. They're playing better fundamental baseball. They're getting good pitching. They're doing things that, they look good. I'd keep Don Kelly as a manager. But their fatal flaw is a lack of offense. And until they do something to actually correct that, I don't know what we're doing here. And so that's kind of where I'm at with them. I want to talk about them. I want to write about them. I want to care about them. But I don't get what we're doing.
They're still flirting with, despite it all, Jason, they're still flirting with 100-loss pace, going into today. So that's not just, that's bad. That's real. It's hard to lose 100 games in Major League Baseball. Maybe we've become a little bit used to it with the way this franchise has been run, but it's hard to try, as they are in year 6 of a rebuild, and lose 100 games. And they're already at 45.
Think about this. This will be 6 seasons under Ben Cherington. One was only 60 games, but it was still 100-loss pace. If this continues, he's going to have 300-loss seasons. Why are you here? Why are we doing this?
Well, and why, Jason, if they believed that it was salvageable 6 weeks ago, why has there not been any kind of significant move? And listen, I'll be the first to say I've long feared a Matt Morris, Chris Archer type, ending here for Ben Cherington, that he would take some kind of wild swing to, in vain to save his job, like those guys did, like Dave Littlefield and Neil Huntington did, and that it will ultimately set the franchise back. But there's something between that and the absolutely nothing that he's done.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Adam. Think about, they're dealing from a position of strength, right? And as much as I like Mitch Keller personally, you've got a guy whose number is going to jump pretty high. You can replicate that performance for a lot cheaper. Why do you not trade him for a bat? For a major league ready, years of control type of bat. Mitch Keller is the type of pitcher that for a bigger market team, he'll benefit. He'll post up, give you 6 innings, give you a quality start most times. He's tied with Paul Skenes for the most quality starts in Major League Baseball. And it doesn't have to be Mitch Keller for a bat, but that needs to be part of something. I think they could trade KeBryan Hayes. Maybe I'm crazy for thinking that, but $8 million for a Gold Glove defender, bat him 8th. If you're the Yankees, I know that doesn't immediately address your needs, but I don't understand why they're just sitting here on their hands. It's the same hitting group. It's the same problems. It's the same story that we've seen before. And I've said this a bazillion times. I don't understand why you're allowing the general manager to go through another draft, execute another trade deadline. He's done neither of those two things well. That's why the Pirates are in the shape they're in. And then theoretically, you're going to allow him to try to improve the offense after the failures that has been? No.
I did have KeBryan Hayes written down because I did want to ask you about that situation, Jason. I think he's at 0.4 wins above replacement, so flirting with a 1-win pace. That's not worth what you're paying. Well, maybe it's becoming worth what you're paying him in today's dollars. But he's got like a 5-something OPS. It's really bad. Do you think they're holding on to him in hopes that he can like claw his way closer to 625, 650 so that the offense begins to be worth like something to supplement the glove? I mean, what is the thought process there? Or do you look at here's my problem with the idea of trading KeBryan Hayes is who are you playing at third base then? Who is going to be there? You're creating a hole, much like we've talked about first base for all these years. I think very quickly third base becomes the same thing if you have guys who are not vastly better hitters than KeBryan Hayes and definitely don't bring his glove to the table.
I mean, this isn't a good thing, but you can easily replicate what he does offensively. I mean, they basically have the same player right now in Trillo. Believe me, it's not a palatable explanation. I'm not excited about it because you're all glove and no bat at a power position. It's not a good fit. But you're saying like who can play third? Trillo can play third, and they'll be the same mediocre offense that they are right now, or the same bad offense. Why are they holding on to KeBryan Hayes? I have two lines of thought with this, Adam. One is just like a total head in the stand stubbornness that would track with a lot of stuff they do, where I think they genuinely, truly believe that like he's going to get out of this and become a really good hitter and get on some kind of tear. I don't agree with them. At this point, I would cut bait. And I think that, again, like I said earlier, I think a big market team might look at him and say, you do a lot of things that could really help us. We don't need you to be an elite bat. We have those. But we really have kind of a black hole in our defense in the infield. And take your glove. For $8 million, it's worth it. And maybe, hey, let's roll some dice and maybe you're in a different place and you help us out. The other thing is, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I mean, the one is just stubbornness. I don't know why you would hold on to him. I guess here's what I was saying. The other thing is if they just that's not there. If that's an inaccurate read on the situation, and maybe they're trying to trade him, maybe they're taking calls on him, and maybe they're just not hearing anything. I don't know. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of, I know you say Jared Trillo, but I'm looking 182. The OPS is similar, I guess. The OPS is similar, so I guess I can see that, but I think they think there's a lot more room to run with KeBryan Hayes, and maybe at this point they shouldn't, considering. I mean, he's not a kid. He debuted here 5 years ago, but they just might
strikingly similar. Adam, I was just looking at that. I did that off the top of my head. Triolo's 563, Hayes is 562.
Yeah, but they gave KeBryan Hayes a lot of money for a reason. The biggest Pirates contract ever at the time, and I don't think we're ever going to see that for Jared Trillo. So I think that's their thought process, is you can't be content with Jared Trillo. At least there's some potential upside with KeBryan Hayes. We are going to talk about Tommy Pham on the other side of this break. We'll talk a little bit about the Paul Skenes, Tarik Skubal matchup that wasn't in this doubleheader that could have been. Before we do that, it should have been. Yeah, we're going to talk about that on the other side of this break. Before we do, just want to pass along a message from our friends at Greenwalt Roofing.
Hey, Pittsburgh. When you think of great roofs, you think Greenwalt Roofing Company. With over 20 years experience, Greenwalt knows your roof is your home's first line of defense. From rain, wind, snow, and ice. That's why Greenwalt Roofing's standard for perfection is so important. You can trust that their team of experienced installers will treat your property like it's their own. When it comes to roof replacements, Greenwalt Roofing is Pittsburgh's only choice. Visit greenwaltroofing.com today or call 412-314-8882 to schedule your free estimate. PA contractor number 36262.
We're back talking Pirates. I'm Adam Bittner. He's Jason Mackey. Jason, Tommy Pham has kind of become everyone's favorite target now that Derek Shelton is out of town. He stinks. People want him cut. But to me, Jason, it seems very obvious that the MO of this front office is, if we sign you to a contract worth more than $1 million, we're going to get a whole year out of you, unless there's a bonus tied to it. In the case of Rowdy Tellez, some of these guys, is there any world where they cut bait on guys like Tommy Pham ever? I don't think that's going to happen until like August minimum with this franchise.
Probably not. Probably not. It should. I don't understand why he's here, just like the GM. I don't know. I mean, I will say this. Tommy Pham compared to Rowdy Tellez or other guys they've kept here, Tommy Pham's got a unique personality. And we haven't seen it come through. You know, a lot was made about the leadership and what he can do by yours truly, and I have to wear that, and that's fine. But that doesn't change his personality. He can be surly and combative, and I thought to a good level. I am curious if this continues. You know, if he keeps getting booed, he's going to keep getting booed unless he starts producing. Where this goes, it's a fascinating story arc, and so. My short answer is that no, I don't expect them to do anything. The Pirates are cheap, and they'll make them do anything or occupy a roster spot and try in vain to get something out of him. It's wrong. They shouldn't. They should allocate those at bats differently. It's just this is not a guy who's just going to go quietly and take it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
At what point is Bob Nutting going to stop talking himself into paying losers like this? Because listen, he cares about the money, and he's wasted a lot of it, especially under the Ben Cherington regime of bringing in these guys that do not end up adding value. I think even some of the starting pitchers have come in and pitched decently, but then they end up getting flipped at the deadline. We talk a lot about there's been no multi-year contracts since Von Nova. It's been a decade. At what point does Bob Nutting say, I don't want to spend $4 million here on Tommy Pham and $3 million there on Rowdy Tellez and $10 million there on Aroldis Chapman? Because at a certain point, it adds up to real money, Jason, that you can pay to someone who's in that more middle tier free agent and not the end of his career losers that they've been signing lately.
And you're bringing up a great point, Adam. And I think it's something that now, okay, I think it's something that Bob thinks about and is irritated by. But you know what? I almost like call BS on my own statement, because if you're so irritated by it, do something about it. Do something about it. You can look at Cherington and what he's done and say you don't deserve to have a job. So do it. If I'm Bob Nutting and I'm, not exactly spending a lot of money on the Pirates, that's a diplomatic way of saying it. I'm looking at the money I do spend and say, am I getting return on investment for this? Like the past two off seasons prior to this one, they I think spent around $35 million, ballpark. They didn't get anywhere close to that. They got like 30% back. If you look at the WAR of what Ben Cherington brought in, it's been equally as bad this year. Look at his trade return, all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm Bob Nutting, and I thought he said a version of that to me when we talked 6 weeks ago, something like that. He said, and I'm paraphrasing at this point, that I look at baseball operations in a variety of like buckets, and there's player acquisition, there's analytics, there's all this stuff. And he has to trust Ben Cherington to do the best job of that. What he wanted to say is Ben spent more money on analytics and should have actually bought a first baseman. Like that's what Bob's saying. And I can't imagine this group has been so risk averse that it's cost the Pirates money. And I can't imagine that Bob's happy about that, because if you put that in plain player terms, say this offseason they signed Paul Goldschmidt for 2 years. That provides assurance, that provides positive PR, that provides somebody who can set down roots here. That is money Bob spends that actually helps him in the long run, as opposed to a year of rentals. So, or years and years of rentals. So anyway, you bring up a good point, Adam. It's something that I think Bob thinks about a lot. Common criticism of him. There's a lot of criticisms of him that he's too patient. I agree with it. He's too patient. He's being too patient here. If he's that upset about it, he should do something about it.
Yeah, and sign some guys who have some longevity. I think you can spend a similar amount of money and spend the money differently, and even take the analytics out of it. If you want to spend the same amount of money on analytics under a new GM, spend the money you have just on the acquisitions differently, and I think you could get a better return than they have. I think they just have been chasing the Francisco Liriano bargain pretty much since that moment. When there's, a lot more examples of, if you pay guys in that middle tier, they can become an AJ Burnett or a Russell Martin or a Francisco Cervelli.
But you have to take on some risk. You have to take on the risk of a second year. And this regime they're scared to take on risk, especially now.
Jason, I want to end the show on this. The Pirates got rained out Wednesday. Had a chance to line Paul Skenes up against Tarik Skubal. Chose not to do it. Pitched him in a different game. I don't know how it's going to play out as we're recording this, but what I do know is I am so sick of watching these broadcasts where they gin up these BS statistics that they love to put on the scoreboard to make us care about the game. But you have a chance to do something people will want to watch, and you say, we're not going to do that. We're going to continue to throw the BS at you and create these fake reasons to care about these games. Brian Reynolds is on a 6-game hitting streak this week, and he's got the highest OPS among right fielders on Wednesdays this season. Tune in. You have a chance to actually make people want to tune in, and you duck it.
Hey, dude, aren't the Pirates the best team in Major League Baseball on Wednesdays? Can't believe you went there. No, I'm just kidding. But I get it. Aren't the Tigers at fault here too? Like, Don Kelly and AJ Hinch, they're friends. You should have it could have been as simple as a text saying, you want to do this? Let's do this. I'm joking, of course. You don't have to do that. But one starts one pitcher first, you see the lineup, and then you start the other one. This should be very simple. I don't think it's solely a Pirates problem, but obviously they're 50% of the problem. To me, Adam, this is a Major League Baseball problem. This is people will automatically care about our sport because it's what we love, and baseball's great, and everybody's always going to care about baseball. And no, football is king in America, in case they haven't noticed. And baseball needs to work to get back to that. I don't think it ever will get back to that, but it can be more popular than it is now. And if I have a Skenes-Skubal matchup, I don't care if it's the 1 o'clock game or the 5 o'clock game, whatever, I'm going to put that out there. Create that matchup, create a bunch of hype about it, put it on my league website, put it on my network, televise it nationally, get as many eyeballs out there as possible.
What is the point?
Go ahead.
What is the point of interleague play if we don't do this stuff?
I know.
It's like it's essential. You've decided to go through, basically blow up the sense of these leagues in their historical sense, so that you can get matchups like Cy Young candidate against Cy Young candidate. To me, that's why we're doing this.
Because what they're doing, you have a doubleheader, and each team's trying to give its best chance to win a game in the doubleheader. Right? That's what they're trying to do. Like if you have Tarik Skubal against the Pirates and not Paul Skenes, your odds are very good. If you have Paul Skenes against not Tarik Skubal and the Tigers, your odds are very good. Congratulations. You're going to split a doubleheader, and you're going to completely whiff on an opportunity to grow your sport and showcase it outside of the narrow-minded thinking that governs it. It's senseless. Nobody's thinking about bigger picture. You're all thinking about 1 of 8, 1 of 162, and 2 of 162, and we have to win the game right in front of us. It's why you need a fan at some of these tables sometimes. Like the Pirates, I swear to God, need in like boardrooms to just have a fan to speak common sense. You're like, just throwing this out there. Do you guys think about how people might react to the bricks or that Clemente sign you took down? You might not want to do that. Like that's what we're talking about here. Hey, guys, it's Paul Skenes and Tarik Skubal. A lot of people might want to see that. Maybe you guys can do that. Just, some entertainment value. This is entertainment, after all. It's supposed to be. It makes me so mad. I don't understand it.
Agreed, Jason. I'm sure we could keep talking about that for quite a period of time, but we're going to leave it there this week. Thanks to everyone for joining us. As always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to both of our channels, the Post-Gazette Sports and the Post-Gazette Pirates channel. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. We always appreciate that. Helps us out in the YouTube algorithm. Otherwise, we will talk to you again at some point. There are going to be vacations going on here in the department, so we're not going to promise next week, but we'll be back. We'll be back talking about sports. So subscribe to the channel, and we will talk to you all again at some point real soon.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.